In the opening shots, we see a young elementary school teacher, Gemma, teaching a class. After work, the mother of one of the children asks if they have found a house. Gemma says that they are just going to the real estate agency today. Molly's little girl was upset by the fact that the cuckoo chick had displaced another chick from the nest to take its place. Soon Gemma was met by the gardener Tom, her boyfriend. Together they went to the agency. A realtor named Martin said that their agency offers cheap housing in an isolated neighborhood. There are all the conditions for a comfortable stay. Martin offered a tour. It wasn't exactly what Gemma and Tom were looking for, but they decided to take the tour after all. The neighborhood is really quite far away. It offers housing for young families. All the houses are completely identical. Martin showed them house number 9. He assured that it was the best option, because they first of all think about the comfort of customers. The furnishings inside were indeed nice. There was even a children's room. Martin assured that it was perfect for a young family. Next he showed them the garden. Tom is alarmed that everything around them is exactly the same. Suddenly the couple notices that Martin is missing somewhere. He was nowhere to be found in the house, and the car was also not in the parking lot. Tom and Gemma decided it was time to get out of here. They drove down a street where the houses could not be distinguished from one another. Almost immediately they got lost, and soon they encountered house number 9 again. Tom realized they were driving in circles and became nervous. Once again they ran into house number 9. Tom decided to switch places with Gemma and drive. The girl noticed that there is no mobile network here. Once again they arrived at house number 9. They both didn't understand anything. The sun was already setting, and they continued to drive around in circles. They also found it suspicious that there were no cars or people around, as if no one lives here at all. The neighborhood is like a labyrinth. No matter where they turned, they still ended up turning back. It was getting dark, and they were out of gas. They had to get out of the car. Gemma tried to call for help, but it was no use. The couple has no choice but to go inside number 9. In the refrigerator were the champagne and strawberries that Martin had previously offered them as gifts. Tom noticed that the strawberries were completely tasteless. When they went to bed, Gemma said she had never heard such silence in her life. The next morning Tom decided to climb to the roof. He was shocked to see an endless array of exactly the same houses. He suggested navigating by the sun and going through yards, climbing over fences. That way they have a chance of getting out of here. So they did. They had walked all day and were very tired, and the sun was setting. Suddenly Gemma saw a light in the window. They went inside, but when they saw the open bottle of champagne, they realized that they were back in house number 9. Next to the house Gemma found a box of food and hygiene products. One thing was clear, someone had been here. Tom set fire to the house, hoping that someone would notice them. Gemma and Tom watched the house burn. They fell asleep on the road. In the morning Gemma was awakened by strange noises. She saw a box containing a newborn baby. There was an accompanying note on the box. If they raised the child, they would be released. The couple was shocked. They didn't understand what was going on. Only now did they notice that house number 9 was intact, as if there had never been a fire. They left help written on the roof. The boy already looked as if several years had passed. At the same time, he was talking like a programmed robot. Tom and Gemma were very afraid of him, not understanding what he was. It was the 98th day. The boy is growing very fast. It slowly drives Tom and Gemma crazy. The boy calls her mom, but she tells him not to. No one knows who his parents really are. Suddenly the boy began to squeal, so they had to feed him urgently. All the food here is tasteless. It is constantly delivered in cardboard boxes. Tom and Gemma tried to track down who was bringing the boxes, but they never succeeded. They are convinced that this boy is not really a child. Tom saves cigarettes because his supply is running low. Suddenly as he threw a butt on the ground, the grass suddenly melted. Tom also realized that the ground here was artificial. They started digging. At one point Gemma noticed that the box had just disappeared. Tom kept digging, hoping to get to the bottom. It didn't yield any results. However, Tom does not intend to stop. He is going to keep digging the next day. In the morning after breakfast, Tom started digging again. Gemma, who was at home at the time, felt that she was going crazy because of this child. Suddenly he turned on the television, which was broadcasting some creepy monotonous picture. Night fell, but Tom didn't stop. Gemma sat in the car, and soon he joined her. They were already weaned off normal smells and everything else. Tom turned on the tape recorder. They were surprised, for they thought the battery had long since died. The couple enjoyed listening to their favorite music and reminiscing about the past. The boy came in and started looking at them, and then tried to repeat the dance. Suddenly he pushed Tom, who was very angry. He pushed the boy too and left. Gemma had to stay with the child. She tried to explain to him that sometimes they needed to be alone, without him. When the boy called her mom again, Gemma got angry. Suddenly the boy squealed. Gemma begged him to stop, not understanding what he wanted. Helplessness was replaced by anger. There seemed to be no way out of the situation. Before falling asleep, Gemma hugged Tom. His mood was no better. In the morning the boy came to them and squealed and then spoke in his robotic voice. During breakfast, Tom said he would keep digging, for there was nothing else he could do. At some point Tom heard some sounds underground. He began to dig with redoubled zeal. That night a similar sound woke him up. It turned out to be the boy watching television. Gemma turned it off, but the boy turned it back on. They had no idea how to deal with this creepy kid. Before breakfast, he squealed again. Tom couldn't stand it and smashed a bowl of cereal against the wall, then took the boy and locked him in the car. Gemma was against it, but Tom wouldn't let her interfere. He forbade her to feed and care for the creature. If those who lured them here cared about his life, they would come after him sooner or later. The creature kept squealing. Gemma couldn't stand it and snatched the car keys from Tom to let the boy out. Tom didn't like it, and he was getting angrier and angrier. But that didn't make him stop digging. The boy confessed that he never dreams. He hugged Gemma. In the morning, Tom woke up right where he was digging. He was very unhappy to see Gemma holding the boy's hand. They had a picnic. Gemma tried to figure out who this child was. She had noticed long ago that the clouds here were perfectly shaped. At night Gemma cried. Tom still hadn't come to bed. He had been digging for days. The hole was already very deep. In the morning, Gemma couldn't find the boy anywhere. She asked Tom if he had seen him. Of course Tom had not seen him. He was even glad the creature had disappeared. Gemma went looking for him and soon saw him standing there with a book in his hands. The text was written in an unfamiliar language. There were also strange symbols in the book, similar to those broadcast on television. Gemma asked the boy where he was. He only replied that he had been solving a riddle. He also confessed that he had met someone, but he was not allowed to talk about it. Then Gemma suggested that he play a game. The idea is that he has to use gestures to represent someone. First Gemma asked him to show her, Tom, a dog and then the person he met today. The boy began to show something creepy. When Gemma saw something that looked like gills, she was very frightened. She shouted that she wanted to go home. The boy reminded that this is her home. Some more time passed. The boy grew up and became a young man. Other than that, nothing had changed in their lives. Gemma brought breakfast to Tom's room. He is not feeling well and can hardly walk. Gemma wishes she had let Tom get rid of the creature when he was little. Tom's health continues to deteriorate. The young man suggested that Gemma play a game and set out to wander the streets of this cyclical city. Gemma tried to keep up with him, but he appeared in one place and in another. She was disoriented. Despite his weakness, Tom continues to dig. It is already dark. Gemma was very tired and sat down to rest. Meanwhile, Tom found remains in the ground. So someone had tried to dig a hole here before him. He immediately climbed to the surface, and Gemma got lost. She called out for Tom, but he couldn't find her because of the fog. They both wandered and tried to walk at the sound of each other's voices. Suddenly Tom felt even worse and lay down right on the road. Finally Gemma found him and took him into the house, but the door was locked. Gemma asked the creature to let them in, but it did not react. They had to spend the night in the car. In the morning, Tom began to have a fever. Not knowing what to do, Gemma begged the creature for help, because Tom needs a doctor. But the young man was not going to help them. Gemma was powerless to do anything. She didn't move away from Tom, hugging him. They both missed the wind and all the sensations they had never paid attention to before. They began to remember how they had met. All that life is in the past. In the present there's only a nightmare waiting for them. Suddenly Tom stopped talking. When Gemma realized that he had passed away, she wept bitterly. In the evening, the young man brought a box containing an airtight bag. Gemma was horrified. Having done all that was necessary, the creature dumped the sack into the hole. Gemma could not stop crying and sat in the car until morning. When she noticed the creature leave the house, she began to watch it. Taking advantage of the moment, she attacked it. The creature began to run away from her on all fours, making strange noises, and crawled under the asphalt. Gemma rushed after it. Beneath the asphalt was some surreal space. Gemma fell into some red room. Here she saw a boy and a crying woman. Suddenly Gemma was sucked in and literally fell through the floor into a green room. Then she was pulled into the wall and thrown into the blue room. Pulling down the bathtub curtain, Gemma suddenly rolled down the stairs. She found herself back inside house number 9. With helplessness, Gemma fell and screamed, not knowing what it all meant. The creature explained that she is a mother who must prepare her son to enter the world. Having completed her mission, the mother is no longer useful. As soon as Gemma did what she was lured here to do, the creature did to her what it did to Tom. Then it buried the hole, and the ground was covered with grass, as if nothing had happened. The creature then got into the car and drove out of the neighborhood. It was ready to replace Martin, who was at the end of his life. Taking his badge, the creature disposed of the former Martin. New Martin sat down in a chair, and soon a young couple came into the office wanting to buy a house.